The American woodcock is an incredibly goofy but really lovable bird species that you can see in the United States. Now they're mostly on the eastern half, and they do live year-round in certain places. They move further south in the winter and then move north in the summer. But they're actually a sign of spring in certain regions. And I'm actually in a place where you can see American woodcocks in the spring, so I'm actually hoping to see some tonight. So today I'm going to teach you about the American woodcock and hopefully tell you a few things that you didn't know. So to start off, let's talk about the features of the American woodcock. They're about a foot long, their wingspan is about 18 inches long, and they have a patterned brown and gray body with a very long bill. And that patterning on them helps them to blend in with the forest where they like to hang out, and it's really hard to see one if you don't know they're there because their camouflage is so good. They look very similar to another bird called a Wilson snipe, but on the woodcock they actually have some stripes that go this way on the head, where on the Wilson snipe the stripes go the other way. If you can see them up close, it's a lot easier to tell them apart, but sometimes if you just get a fleeting glimpse, it's difficult to tell which one is which. So keep an eye out for that Wilson snipe as well. They normally hang out in more watery areas compared to the woodcock. The woodcock loves tangled forests and forest edges, especially when they're doing their breeding display, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but those two can sometimes be confused. Now, woodcocks are known for their mating displays. So once spring arrives, the males come out and they start doing their peent vocalization. Some people also call it a meep. And they're kind of gaining a little footing in pop culture because of their goofy look and their vocalizations. So once the light starts to fade, the males are gonna come out, they're gonna do their peent noise, and it's kind of funny because when they make it, it looks like it kicks them back with a lot of force. So it's really cool to watch them do that. Then they will take off into the sky and do a sky dance where they make a twittering noise. As they go spiral up, and then they'll spiral down and come back in a very similar place to where they took off unless something frightens them away from that spot. So if you're watching American woodcocks do this display, you can kind of find out where they are, and if they don't get spooked, they'll come down in a similar spot. So of course, give them a lot of space when you're doing this, but it's really fun to watch them do this display. And they're trying to attract a female. So this is definitely a sign of spring, and when the woodcocks come back to this area, which is Wisconsin, it tells me spring is here. So hopefully we will see some tonight, but they love to do their breeding display in short grasses, normally by forests. So they hang out in the forest and they come out here to do their breeding displays. Sometimes it's a little too dark to see. You almost need like night vision goggles or something, but occasionally they do start doing this when it's still light out. As far as diet goes, they're mostly insectivores, and they use their long probing bill and stick it into the soil. It's very flexible, and the tip of that bill can open up without the rest of it opening so that they can take earthworms and then just pull them out of the soil. So a really fascinating feeding, probing behavior by these woodcocks. And then they also do this kind of shuffling, like bobbing back and forth, which has also gained a footing in pop culture because it's so goofy. And it's kind of up for debate why they do that. The leading theory is that them shuffling and making movement disturbs the worms, and then the worms might move, so it's easier for them to sense them. A couple other theories is that they're trying to mimic like swaying vegetation to help them blend in, but that doesn't really make too much sense. And then another one was that it might help their perception of their eyes trying to see stuff. But really the leading theory is that it might disturb the worms or whatever they're trying to get under the surface, so it's easier for them to detect and eat it. So that's the leading theory. They don't 100% know for sure, but that's what they're thinking at this point. Once breeding begins, the female will build a nest on the ground and have about 3 to 4 eggs. She'll take care of the nest, and the babies are actually precocial, meaning they're born with their eyes open, so they're kind of ready to go right away. And they can actually walk shortly after they're hatched. They do look adorable as well. Unfortunately, the woodcocks as a whole are on the decline. So they're not endangered or anything like that, but populations are kind of in a downtrend with development that's going on, so a lot of habitat loss issues. But hopefully the awareness of the woodcock for their goofiness helps to get the general public involved in conservation efforts. One other really goofy thing about the woodcock is their eyes are very high and actually kind of towards the back of their head, so they have near 360-degree vision. So they're actually able to see almost all the way around them, which helps them to avoid predators. So a lot of really interesting and really goofy things about these birds, but that's a pretty cool adaptation. If you see a woodcock from the back, you are able to see the eyes on their head, which is pretty wild. A good way to find American woodcocks is to look on eBird, and you can see sightings of them. But coming to a place that's near water and forest edge in the spring when they're doing their courtship display is a really great place to see them. Hopefully, as we start getting a little later in the day, we'll start hearing the painting and we'll be able to track down some American woodcocks. You hear it? That's the American woodcock. How cool is that? Well, they're not being too cooperative tonight as far as good looks, but they're definitely here. They're doing the painting, they're making the twittering as they go up. So it's always awesome to find some American woodcocks. And here's some clips from other times we went out when we either had a light, you don't want to shine it directly on them, but you can get, some of the edge around it. And we use some night vision binoculars. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hope you learned a little bit about the American woodcock. Let me know your favorite fact about them in the comments below. And we'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.